Good afternoon, folks. This is Robert Chappell, Executive Editor of Madison365 with your daily update for Monday, September 27th. It is Monday, which means it is Metcalf's Monday. Metcalf's is a fourth-generation, family-owned and operated market with stores in Madison at Hilldale Mall and behind the Westtown Mall, and in Wauwatosa at 68th and State. It is football season, and that means it's tailgate season too. Metcalf's local producers have them stocked up with everything you need to feed a crowd of fans. Stop by or order for pickup or delivery anytime at shopmetcalfs.com. And you're aware, if you're a football fan, you're aware the Packers had quite the ending last night. All right, let's get into some COVID numbers first, which is good news and bad news, kind of, as is often the case. Sorry, I lost my page here. We see another largest number of cases for a Monday, right? We've typically, the past couple of months during this Delta surge, right, we've seen in the 500 to 600 new cases on a Monday, and then there's 2,000 or 3,000 on Tuesday and Wednesday, just because there's not as much testing being processed over the weekend, and they're not reporting weekend data. So Monday is typically low, because actually what we're reporting on Monday is what was processed on Sunday. So those have been low. Today, however, we're at 1,405, which is a lot for a Monday. That said, the 7-day average actually fell again to 2,603. Right, so the 7-day average of new cases continues to fall, even as we're having a higher than usual number for a Monday. The other sort of benchmark number that we kind of keep track of is the positive test rate, which is now 7.9% of all the tests in the past 7 days have been positive. Now, that has been falling as well. Each day that is reported, it has been slightly lower than the day before. However, if you look back retroactively, a week later, all those numbers are being revised up. So what that means is on Friday, when I was on here Friday and we were on the podcast this morning, we're talking about Friday's numbers, it was reported for Friday at 7.7. Now the state data is saying that on Friday it was 8.1. So what's happening is not deceptive exactly. It's that they're getting more data in, and they're attributing positive tests and negative tests to the days that they actually happened rather than the days they were reported. So that changes the data a little bit. So when I say 7.9 today, that's really, really high is the bottom line. That's really, really high. Like, we can get into the weeds and splitting hairs about daily attribution and stuff like that. The bottom line is, don't worry about any of that. It's just really too high by a lot. It's been hovering around 8% for almost 2 months now. Today is probably, in reality, closer to like 8.2, 8.3. It feels like it's been coming down, but it really hasn't been coming down. And it's just outrageously high because we're not testing enough. We have too many new cases. Now, we are seeing there's a nationwide trend of cases, the number of cases coming down. Is that what we're seeing here? It's hard to say yet. There's been a leveling off more than a coming down, is what I would say. Excuse me. The average number of deaths has also leveled off at about 13 per day. There were 4 confirmed deaths yesterday, but there were larger numbers later last week. Again, those are deaths that just were confirmed that day, not that happened each day. So these are deaths that took place in the past 3 to 4 weeks that are just now being confirmed and reported into the data. Hospitalization data also looks pretty good today. We are still leveled off at about 1,100 people hospitalized. Right now, today, the total number is 1,095, which is slightly higher than it was Friday, but it's actually lower than yesterday. So there was an increase over the weekend, and now today another decrease. So, and that's actually over the full week. There's actually just four fewer people hospitalized today than there was last Monday, which is a remarkable leveling, right? To basically be at the same number for a week is actually not bad. I'll take that over going up, right? We've been just sort of hovering right around 1,100 people. As long as we're hovering at the same level, I feel not great about it, but not horrified either, right? We may have peaked. We may not. We may be leveling off before the next spike. We'll see. We're 337 people currently in ICU care. That's still about 1/3 of all hospitalized cases are being cared for in ICUs. So that's basically it on COVID right now. I will say there's been we did see a slight jump in vaccinations, 53.5% now. It was 53.3 on Friday. I'm curious. Let's see. I haven't looked at this yet today, but the average, that's really low. 6,547 doses per day. That's not enough, guys. That back in April when all of us who were just really wanted to get it, there was like 65,000 doses a day. Now it's down to 6,500, like literally 10% of peak. It's been really hard to keep the vaccine moving. People just aren't getting it. So do go get it, please. 56.6 have gotten one dose, and 65 point. I'm sorry, 53.5 have gotten fully vaccinated. All right. That is the COVID news. We're going to take a short pause. We'll be back right after this message, and we'll have some more local and national news for you right on the other side of this break. So don't scroll away. All right, one thing I'm working on that is not on the site yet that I think will probably be, I'll have a story for the morning. There was an incident last week that I'm kind of working on the story. There was an incident last week at Wausau West High School, in which apparently this happens every year, but nobody's called it out yet. But a history teacher, during a lesson on Ojibwe culture, dressed up like an Indian. And it looked from the photo, an actual Ojibwe student, was there to learn about Ojibwe culture from a white person. But it took a surreptitious photo, and it looks to me like not anything real or authentic, but just like a Halloween costume, which is problematic on many levels. Like, you have a white person even dressing up in correct, authentic, traditional, indigenous clothing is a problem. But putting on a Halloween costume to teach about Native culture, problem on many levels. Tricia Zunker, who is one of the leaders up there, former president of the school board there in Wausau, held a press conference today with the vice president of the Ho-Chunk Nation, as well as some other folks, just to talk about this issue, and called on the school board to change curriculum and to become in compliance with Act 31, which requires accurate and authentic curriculum regarding Indigenous peoples. The school district did issue an apology and said that this won't happen again. They're going to basically not encourage. They're going to encourage history teachers not to dress in Native American costumes, which I'm not sure why you would that feels like it shouldn't need to be said, but it does. So I'm working on that. We will probably have that for the morning. So watch for that tomorrow on Madison365.org. Also today, we have a profile of Milwaukee County Sheriff Ernell Lucas, who was just elected sheriff a couple of years ago. I want to say 2018. But he is now running for mayor of Milwaukee. I told you a couple of weeks ago about Cavalier Johnson is running for mayor. This is a special election that's been triggered by the appointment of Tom Barrett, current mayor of Milwaukee, to be the United States ambassador to Luxembourg. Whenever the U.S. Senate gets around to appointing that, or to confirming that nomination, rather, when we don't know when that's going to be, Cavalier Johnson, as the city council president, will become acting mayor. He's also decided he will run in a special election. There'll be a special election about 2 months after that takes place. And we literally don't know when this election is going to be, which makes it awkward to run for office. We don't know when the election is. So I think that's one of the reasons there haven't been that many candidates in yet. Cavalier Johnson's in, Ernell Lucas is in. There's lots of other people who could jump in, who've been speculated about. Lena Taylor ran against Tom Barrett in the primary in April of 2020. Would not be shocked to see her jump in, and lots of other folks. But I think it's what's interesting is that Milwaukee has had one black acting mayor for a couple of months and has never elected anybody except a white man. So the candidate slate that's shaping up already is looking like that might be over, right? So that's it. Actually, and Angelica Ussery, our reporter, Angelica spoke with Mr. Lucas, and has that story today on Madison365.org. In national news today, the Biden administration is proposing rules and will post administrative rules tomorrow, which will go through a 60-day comment period to bolster and to extend the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals Program, DACA, the DREAM Act, because since Congress has failed to extend it or expand it, and it was ruled unconstitutional or illegal by a federal judge, and it was allowed to stay in effect. And so they're going through the executive process to make it happen, to keep it alive and keep it expanding in lieu of congressional action. So that story is on Madison365.org right now. And finally today, R. Kelly was found guilty on a number of charges involving racketeering and sex trafficking. These are federal charges that go, related to sexual assaults and other crimes against mostly black and brown women, young women, many of them juveniles, over the past 20 to 21 years. This is a case in the Eastern District of New York. There's a total of 9 counts, 1 count of racketeering, with 14 underlying acts that included sexual exploitation of a child, kidnapping, bribery, and sex trafficking charges, in addition to 8 additional counts of violations of the Mann Act. So he will certainly face many decades in prison, probably the rest of his life, I would imagine. And I will say that this conviction probably wouldn't have happened except for a journalist named Jim DeRogatis, who really uncovered a lot of this going all the way back to year 2000 or so. All right, that is what I have for you today. It is a beautiful Monday evening. I hope you're able to get out and enjoy it. We will be back here tomorrow, probably about the same time, about 4:30, 5 o'clock, somewhere in there, to get you the update on the COVID information and on the news of the day. And I'll have some updates on that Wausau situation as well. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you soon.
This is 365 Media.